Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Vincent. Good afternoon, Roberto. I'm good, thank you. Hope you're both well. Welcome, Usman. Afternoon. Where do you see cable bottomed out? So we'll go take a look at cable in this live stream. Thank you all for joining me today. I don't know what that text box is up there. What did it? Right. Let me just get sorted here. Obviously, we've had some data out today. It's been some big data. Let's just talk about that real quick before we get into the charts of interest. So, obviously, we had a Swiss National Bank rate decision this morning. That actually came in lower than forecast at 1.75%. It's actually helped me. I was long CAD Swiss, and it wasn't doing particularly great at the time. And then the data dropped here, and this actually helped me reach my target. And then I was actually looking at a Kiwi Swiss long this afternoon, but for my alert didn't go off, and it's now rallied, so that's a little bit annoying. So we will take a look at Kiwi Swiss as well, because that was just like a strength and weakness play I was looking at. Thank you, Vincent. Glad you're doing well too. Hello, Aslan. Good afternoon, good evening from Malaysia. Ah, welcome. Morning, Ragai. Hope you're good. So yeah, we've had some key data to drop as well. We've had the Bank of England rate. They actually held rates at 5.2. That was a bit of a shocker, I must admit. There were certain signs that it was going to happen. I thought they'd go one more. I did think we'd get the 5.5%, considering the fact that inflation's still at 6.7%, I think it is at the moment. That was a little bit of a shock to me. I did think that we were going to get another hike there, and we didn't. So obviously the Bank of England feel that there's no need to, at the moment, raise those interest rates further. They projected inflation going forward to come down. So yeah, they felt like they didn't need to actually do anything there. And then about an hour ago, we had some unemployment claims drop, which was pretty positive for the US dollar as well. So cable and Swissy, a bit of a weaker currency at the moment. We kind of talked about that in the previous live stream as well. Let's just go head over to cable. We've broken well down through that 1.23 level now. We've come all the way down into the 1.2250, having a little bit of a rebound here. Whether that continues is, we'll have to look into that a little bit more. Do I think this is the sort of bottom for cable, though? It's going to depend for me. I think I want to see that weekly close just like it is. If we get a weekly close below the previous week low, it's a potential sign that we're going to come down to the next level of interest. So the next level of interest for me would be around about the 1.2. Sorry, I'm just trying to bring the coordinates up there. Let's make this a support level. Just from a technical perspective, I'll probably look at 1.2 there as an option for any kind of opportunities. What's interesting though is this area, right? We had like a good few sort of months. So that was from December to April of just consolidation. So there's going to be a lot of accumulation within this area that we're coming into at the moment. Let me just take that SMA off at the moment. So if I was just to grab the fixed range volume tool, I'm just going to go from I just want to see what this area is doing here. So let's just go to that high there. So yeah, large volumes through that. So very close to that 1.2 actually. The 1.2044 was the most traded level within this zone. The second most traded level was around about 1.2175. So that's not unusual for cable in terms of quarter numbers, whole numbers. So that one's very close to the 1.2050. This one's very close to the 1.2175. So I'm actually gonna readjust that, I think, to the 1.2050. So those levels would be of interest for me. I think that we do get an opportunity to potentially see some further downside here for cable. As well, it's going to depend if that dollar can push through the 105.50. We are at a major level of resistance at the moment. In order to be a further buyer of the US dollar, you want to see the dollar index perform well, even though it's a basket of currencies against the US dollar, mostly weighted to the euro. You still want to see that sort of momentum here on the dollar index, and you want to see it trade above these previous yearly highs, really, if that formed back in sort of the 6th of March. So, yeah, I think it's going to be one of those. If you're looking to see if the pound US dollar price is going to bottom out, I'd be very much watching the US dollar index. If we get any kind of breakdowns here, then pound may start to be supported around about the 1.23. If we don't see that support coming in, then I see 1.2175, 1.2050 being those next levels of support there. Right, guy, great, good trading week so far for the week. That's good. Glad to hear that. Usman indicators oversold on pound. That's a good point. Yep. So I've got the stochastic on here at the moment. That is in that oversold condition. The one thing I would say though is I don't tend to focus on that too much until the condition changes. So just because we've gone into that oversold territory there doesn't necessarily mean that price is going to start to bounce on that. We could probably both agree on that, because if we kind of look at what happened back here in April of 22, you can see that we go into that oversold territory and price still moves quite a considerable way before seeing any kind of reaction there. Obviously these conditions were a little bit different at that time, but this was the sort of massive sort of breakdown after we had where was the COVID lows? COVID lows were 2020, so we had that kind of rush below those COVID lows in there. So yeah, I mean, just because it goes oversold does not necessarily mean that it is going to start pushing back to the upside. They're good to know. They're good to know that it is starting to get oversold. If we look at the monthly chart, it's quite the opposite, to be honest. The monthly, overbought, on the monthly chart. So it's the opposite. Oversold on our lower time frames, weekly, daily, even probably the 4 hour yet. You don't know where the hourly is sitting at the moment. If that kicks in yet. So even that's all in that sort of oversold. And now if you look at it from the higher time frame, we're in that overbought territory. And I like to look at indicators from higher time frames just because it does give me a little bit of a sense of what could potentially happen. And look at that, right? So the last couple of times we've been in that overbought condition and crossed back down through the 80, we've seen some significant downside in cable. So is that going to be the same thing again? We could see further downside. That doesn't mean price isn't going to obviously pull back a little bit, but there's some real potential here. I'm really eyeing this 105.50 area on the US dollar index. I think if that breaches, we're going to see a big move. We're going to see a really big move. But that's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. We may get a false breakout of this level. Price may try and trade back to the downside then. So, I may be completely wrong there, but that's just my opinion. One thing I will watch is this trend line support on the dollar index. We can see that it has been supported a couple of times recently. So, maybe if we get a breach of this trend line, it's going to be, the bias of the dollar index breaking higher. would be pretty much off the table then, and we'll have to switch our bias to have a look at something completely different. But that's okay. We will, as analysts, traders, we expect to be wrong, right? Because the market's going to do whatever the market wants to do. Interesting though to see that the Feds are quite hawkish in tone. Bank of England a little bit opposite to that. Same with although the ECB are quite strong as well. So yeah, we are starting to see that sort of differential in those central banks again now, which is quite nice. Could give us some further opportunities. But yeah, dollar index is going to be a big one, big one. So keep that on your watch list, and make sure you keep looking back at what's happening here on a day-to-day basis. At the moment, we're rejecting, so that might invite a little bit of selling pressure back into the US dollar. Might get something similar to what happened. We breached the lows, didn't we, back here, those May lows in July. And I think, even I was thinking the next sort of stop for the US dollar index was more around this $99 area, but it didn't get there at all, and price then started to reverse. So, I was pretty wrong there. We then broke back in, and we've had that streak of dollar strength. Gold, yeah, we'll take a little look at gold. Obviously, cable's the big talking point of today. Let's go take a quick look at euro. I did actually scalp some euro short. We talked about this area here in our live stream, which was basically the point of control of this move in here. And when price got to that level there, I was very interested in what price was going to do. So I ended up taking a couple of scalps in here. I came out around these lows just down through there, which is unfortunate, really, because I could have targeted the main low through here, but I got out at that point. But that was a very nice move. Very good volume analysis there in terms of it gave us the kind of key levels to look out for. We then had the reaction here. If you go down into a lower time frame, you'll see a big reaction. And that was when the news kicked in right on 7 o'clock. So you had like a nice bullish move into the level. Strong bullish moves into a level can actually be quite interesting to see. It's almost like the last sort of big move before we get a reversal. And then, yeah, we had a really good sort of breakdown there on euro. So very similar, though, with regards to the US dollar index. We're kind of at these lows in here. So we need to be a little bit careful now of what price is going to do next. If we can trade through and close below, that'll give me a little bit more confidence that we're going to come into the sort of next level of support. Whereas, if we're just hovering around this area, that tells me that there's, potential accumulation going on there. And then I want to be looking to see which way price kind of breaks out at that point. Let's go head over to gold. Gold actually came into that key area that we kind of spoke about, the 1945. If there was any kind of dovish shocks there, I did feel that we could probably break a little bit higher and head towards the 1980 level. It looks like price stuck to that resistance though, and yeah, with that dollar strength coming in back into the market, we've seen price move lower. I did like the idea of gold being a little bit of a hedge towards the market volatility this week, but we were at price came into resistance, so there was no point necessarily being long until price got above these highs, and it didn't. And now we're pulling back a little bit back down towards that 1916 handle. So we'll see if anything can happen with gold. I think now on the weekly, it's going to look like that trend line's holding again at this moment. And if it does hold, and dollar does break 105.50, the next low down here, 1880, maybe even 1885, 1815, could be sort of the next area for gold. It'd be nice to see how this week closes, to be honest. I would like to see how that does close. Like I said, 105.50, the dollar index being that sort of main standing point at this current moment in time. But yeah, I'll show you let's see if my CAD Swiss trade is still on here. We'll go take a little look at that one. I actually came out here at 1.4R for around 43 pips. This was a nice move in the end. It took the Swiss National Bank move to come into effect to actually help my trade out, I was very much looking at the potential for price to come into this daily low here, which was around about that 67.20, 67.30 area. You can see that we've got that sort of, again, like a period of consolidation, which lasted a few weeks. You've got the 5th of June, and then we broke out on the 5th of July, 6th of July. So about a month's worth of trading within that area. And what is that? Was that a month's worth of trading within what, about 80 pips? So yeah, lots of accumulation going on there, and we've broken out of that. We broke down ever since we traded above 66. I just felt that we could maybe trade through this level quite quickly. Again, kind of looking at it from a volume point of view, you'd have quite a large volume level coming through here. If I was to volume profile from here down to here, it would be like a giant sort of P shape. And that's because we've got low volume in this area. And price tends to travel through low volume areas quite quickly. And you can see that's a good example here. We trade through this area. And again, large volumes would come in here. So it'd be like almost like a B shape like this. And we'd broken above that, and ever since, price has traveled through it quite quickly. It hasn't kind of stumbled around, which it can often do. You know, I'd expect maybe price to come back down a little bit, maybe do something like that, because in those low volume pocket areas, you can often see a little bit of that kind of build up again. So if I was just to kind of give you a good example of that and go from there, we'll go to the breakout. You'll see exactly what I mean. Let me just bring that over a little bit more just to accompany everything in. And you can see that shape there. You've got that volume in here, low volumes, volume down through there. Yeah, actually, right, guy, that is a good point. That is exactly what I was thinking. So, right, guys just said, what do you think about Kiwi Swiss? Do you think it will make it up to zero? Spot 54. That is exactly what I was looking for, to be honest. And I did set an alert here down at 53.40, and it hasn't quite come into that level. But yeah, I mean, weekly chart, if we look at it from a weekly analysis, if I just zoom this in a little bit, we are definitely in a bearish trend, right? You can see that prices clearly trading to the downside there. So we've got to be aware that the overall market trend is bearish here from a longer time frame point of view, as well as we've got this kind of consolidation here. Now, what I'm trying to look for is if we close within this consolidation, because again, if I just bring in a volume profile and just go like this, you'll see, sorry, the double clicking is bringing the stochastic in. You'll see the drop, the accumulation, and then the breakdown, right? Now we've broken through the value area low, which was down here at 52.90. So the next sort of interesting place is going to be up here where this zone is. So where the value area high is and where the point of control is. And the sort of higher and sort of within that level is the zero spot 54, right? So if I just put that on quite accurately, there we go. You can see that zero spot 54. So yeah, I do quite like that area. It's how do we get up to that point? Because the weekly, if I put the weekly trend line in, this is what I've got. We are kind of approaching that. Again, not a huge fan of trend lines, like I always say, but you know, sometimes they just stick out a little bit. And that was one I felt stuck out from this weekly time frame. If I was going to get super critical, I could have probably gone down into this one instead and projected it, because you want to kind of project it from the next high. So if I'm going to get super critical of my trend line placement, then I would have placed it there, but it pretty much comes in exactly at the same point, and it does include a little bit more information. So I just kind of see how the market reacts here. I don't feel like there's much rush to jump into this one at this current moment in time. So what I don't want to get stuck into is, obviously there's some lows here. There's a little bit of volume. You can see this sort of spike in volume there. And look how price is reacting to that right now. Don't really want to get stuck trying to get long here, anticipating the 0 spot 54 and get stuck in that little bit of volume pocket. So I'm just monitoring this one. I'm just monitoring it. I like it in terms of, I do like the idea of being long on it. We did, from, I guess, a fundamental perspective, the Swiss National Bank holding rates is quite interesting, and that could weaken the Swiss franc. But yeah, just not fully convinced just yet that price is going to make it to that 0 spot 54. It's just on my radar. It's on my radar. Hopefully that makes sense. Ďpusd trading, please. How about Aussie yen? Let's go take a look at Aussie yen next. Hello, Caro. Sorry, been away for a few weeks. No problem. Welcome back to the live streams. Hope you've been well. Are you using volume profile? Yeah, I do use a lot of volume profile. It's just hard to show it because I don't have it to use in MetaTrader. But obviously, the use of trading view is a little bit better on the live streams because I can make the sort of text a bit bigger. And I was getting a lot of feedback saying nobody could read the text or anything like that. So yeah, now I'm on here, I can show you a little bit more volume profile analysis that I usually do. Thanks for the analysis. I'm waiting for my entry trigger. Also, BOJ intervene in the market. Potentially. There's still that to go, isn't there? If we go take a quick look at dollar yen, we've traded out of that consolidation, which we spoke about on Tuesday. We're now sort of, again, back in that area. We came back through it, went to the other side, tested the low, had the data drop. Now we're back above. And again, so, there is some Bank of Japan data coming up, isn't there? I think it's tomorrow. Yeah, so you've got a monetary policy statement out of Japan tomorrow and a BOJ press conference. Now, Governor Ueda has recently spoken, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, saying that, there is a potential for the Bank of Japan to move away from negative interest rates. Obviously, if that happens, I think the yen could strengthen quite significantly. So it'd be interesting if that comes out tomorrow and we get any kind of data from that. The market's obviously moving into a little bit of risk off right now. The way I can tell that is by, if you were to kind of group the yen pairs together at the moment, let's just see if I can do that. If I can fit them all in here. Yeah, so if I just grab a pen tool, let's grab that. So we can see dollar yen is negative at the moment, so that's yen strength. Aussie yen is negative, so there's some yen strength there. Obviously, it could be Oz weakness, but this is how I kind of look at it. CAD yen is also down. We've got Euro yen down, Pound yen down, Kiwi yen down. So to me, that's more, the market is now sort of more risk off. And it's more of a yen play at this current moment in time because technically the dollar's a little bit stronger. CAD's been stronger and it's still down against the yen at the moment. So yeah, we're getting a bit of a yen play here at the moment. Is that because we're heading into that risk event essentially? Are we heading into that Bank of Japan event, and are we going to see a little bit of a pushback before that event? Now Aussie yen, pretty much within this area. I did like longs. I think we talked about it here. I must have talked about it here from the bit of a trend line break. You can also see within that, and this is what I love. If it was to go to a 4-hour time frame, right? Let's get the fixed range tool and let's go from the swing low to the swing high here, and look at the point of control there in the volume zone, which is through here. And look at the buyers just jumping back in. Right? So that's what I love about volume profile. It can give you some really good levels to work with, some really good zones to work with. So that's something to also consider. But yeah, obviously price rallied. We tried to make a break for 95.80, which were the highs that were back here in the 25th of July and the 31st of July. We did trade above it for sort of, was that 8 hours? And then price dropped back within it. and ever since we've been trading lower. So we've broken through a couple of trend line supports as well. I'd argue there was a little bit of a kind of a bullish channel going on there, and price has now traded through that and is now making its way lower. So doesn't look like I want to be dealing with Aussie yen right now. If I was, then you might argue there's a position here for maybe a bit of a range play. Just visually looking at it, if I just delete all that, you've kind of got the resistance here. Let's change that to a resistance level. 95.80, and then you've got support down here at the sort of 93 area. So yeah, I think there could be arguments that you could see Aussie yen stay within the range at this current moment in time. Yeah, I'm just trying to think Aussie yen. I always try and think sort of, why do I want to be in the market in the first place? You know, the only way I would be interested in Aussie yen really is if it was for that sort of risk off tone. I can see the stock markets are down again today. And yeah, I'm eyeing up a bit of a zone. So, I mean, we came very close to my level of resistance. So within that, I think it was 46. Was that my level of resistance? It's probably on my MetaTrader charts and not on my trading view charts. Let's look at the daily. It might have been a little bit higher than that. Okay, it was here, wasn't it? So my resistance was 46.35, and we've bounced from the 4600 level. So I was off by a little bit there. And now we're coming back into these lows. A break below this low would be, I think, quite significant for the stock market. Again, just trying to think, you know, where would volumes be? Now, I always tell you that when price rallies, consolidates, rallies again, this area here is where large volume will be collected, and price will either come back, retest it, move, come back within it, go to the other side of it, or come back within it and break to the other side. Now, if we look at this kind of move that's happened here, something that immediately jumps out of me is this area down through here. So if we were to sort of break down through this, could there be a possibility that price comes all the way down into that sort of volume zone? Let's just put on, I don't know whether it will work well on the US 500 index here at the moment. I might have to go onto the SPY futures. But let's just have a quick look. I don't think it will be on here. Okay, it is. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, about 4120. What really just draws my attention is this from like here. So if there's large volumes coming in at 4120, is that going to be the point of, you know, the market wants to test this area in theory? And if that means that's going to happen, then is there going to be some further yen strength coming from the market just from a risk off turn, you know? So that's something to consider as well. I'll probably leave that on my chart, come back to it, see what happens. But yeah, we can see I've got the S&P down today. We've got the Dow down. We've got a NASDAQ down. You've got the DAX. FTSE is obviously going to be a little bit up due to the fact that the interest rates have been paused. So naturally, the stock market perform a little bit better from that. So yeah, there's definitely a risk-off play coming into the market at the moment. So you may want to consider looking at your yen getting stronger in the short term. CAD yen could be quite a decent play actually, because we've come up into this 110 handle, and you can see this is a nice area of resistance. These highs all the way back. That's the 21st of October 2022 and 13th of September 2022, and we've come up into a big level again. Now you can see your eye starting to draw to it a little bit. There's going to be a lot of volume coming through here. If we go to the swing low to the swing high, look at that. You've got 107.70 with the point of control. This area here around about 108.24. So is price going to come back and try whoops, I didn't mean to put a text box, I wanted a rectangle. This zone here, sort of your value area high to your point of control, is that going to be something that price wants to test? And if so, can you look to potentially for price to seek that level, right? Somewhere around the 108 maybe. And CAD Swiss could be quite good because you've got oil rejecting $92 at the minute. So let's go have a quick look at oil. Well, it was rejecting $92. So I see a little bit of pushback there. But yeah, this is the sort of map I've got on oil at the moment. If it breaches 92, then I can see some actually carry. Yeah, what if oil reaches 100? That's a good point. I think if we break 92 and oil reaches 100, then that option there may not be valid. That option might not be valid at all, but we shall see. I mean, CAD has been performing quite well, hasn't it? We did get some data out this week. Let's just put this on. Where's that CAD data that I'm looking for? Was it last week? Oh, it was this week. Where's that gone? Thursday. No, I want Monday to Friday. Apply settings. Yeah, so we had the CPI coming in a little bit higher. Trim CPI 3.9%. So CAD CPIs have come in a little bit higher. But, you know, if you're going to do that risk off turn, then there could be a little bit of pressure on CAD yen in the short term. That's not necessarily looking for a massive move to the downside. I think it's, what is it? It's like 150 pips. It might even rally from there. Like, these arrows aren't working. My mouse is playing up again. Down into here and then into there, something like that. Then we're going to have to see how what the Bank of Japan say tomorrow. That's going to be a big topic, I think. Let's go have a little look at crude then. Sorry, Carrie, I missed your other message. Long Brent 91.45 and short dollar 148. Okay, let's have a look. Brent 91.45. Nice. Bit of a breakout of that high there. Brent's got a little bit more to it, hasn't it? Just from clear visuals, obviously, those stick out to me like a sore thumb. So Brent's probably got a little bit more upside there. Not at immediate resistance. And short dollar yen 148. Yeah, nice. We are coming up into those areas now, aren't we? We're coming up into those areas where intervention will probably be talked about. You know, they may even talk about it in the press conference tomorrow. It might be a topic that they use to try and bring that yen strength back into the market. So yeah, that's some nice moves going on there. Any other markets anybody's taken a look at? I've been looking at obviously the euro dollar. Euros dollar something I try quite often. So euro dollar for me is a big sort of area to look at. Could even extend a little bit lower, but like I said, look, we're now 105.60 on the US dollar index, and I just think from the tone of the Federal Reserve, is there that kind of situation where would people be even looking to short US dollar here? I think the only people looking to short US dollar here would be, you know, people looking to try and get in from the highs. I don't see that personally myself, just from a fundamental perspective. I don't see that personally. But, you know, I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong. We could see that the market is, you know, I think it would be different if there wasn't such hawkish talk from the Fed. If they'd gone with more of the dovish tone and the fact that that could be the sort of peak in interest rates, then I definitely feel the dollar would have reacted negatively to this zone, and we probably would be trading, 104s, 104.50s, because they've been so. It wasn't too hawkish, but it was almost like we could have gone in this meeting, but we've decided not to. And, that means the next meeting we could probably go. I think the dot plot was showing around about 5.6%, so maybe another 0.1, which isn't the most aggressive hike in the world, but it's still, it's still hiking rates, isn't it? So, yeah, I'm at that point where I like to almost stay away from these bigger levels and then see how price reacts to them, and then start looking to see, okay, well, if we're through that point, where's the next area? So you got sort of, I know I've said 112, that is quite a way away. You've got this level around about the 108, which is interesting. So it's around there. So it doesn't have to go all the way to 112. It's just the monthly looks pretty good for the 112. Shall I have a look at Aussie? Aussie and its whole numbers recently has just been very interesting. Look at 63 there. Yeah, bit of a consolidation coming here as well. Break of that. We've got 63, possibly then 62. Delete that. I'm going to clone this one up. My mouse is going crazy today. Double clicking all over the show. Right, 62. Yeah, that yen is definitely coming in stronger. I did quite like pound Kiwi as well. Kiwi is obviously a little bit stronger at the moment. And I was looking at this weekly chart again. Weekly is definitely in a strong upward trend, so we've got to be a little bit careful of getting short at the wrong point, essentially. If I look at the volume profile, you can see around about this 2.06 area. I've got 660, and it's looking more a little bit like 6.8 is a pretty big level to look at, and price is pretty much at it. But I was trying to short into it, but I just didn't want to get short on ahead of the Bank of England. But I was looking basically around here. Again, just kind of showing you. We have this sort of volume zone. We've been here. We ignored the point of control pretty much of that little area. But I was interested in around there. 128.50 was where I was interested. And we had the stochastic here started to show up bearish as well. So, yeah, my idea was to kind of short in and around this area. Look for that 200.68. I mean, you can see actually if I'll just round that up to 206.70. Sorry, that's not what I meant to do. 2070. Whole number. Look, we've just peaked into that whole number there, and we've had a bit of a reaction now. So, pound Kiwi, not necessarily now the one to watch. I mean, I looked at all that. I missed all that there. I liked pound Aussie, grabbed a bit of pound Aussie, and even pound CAD looked pretty good, but I just couldn't catch anything on pound CAD. Pound CAD has just gone without me. I haven't been able to get anything out of that at all. So, apologies if you just heard some flapping in the background. That's the dog. But yeah, starting to see that. I mean, a bit of risk off coming in. Gold is not really enjoying that. Dollar's obviously still benefiting, so we're getting that little bit of a push there. Stock markets are interesting to me. I do like the idea of the stock markets moving a bit lower. Let's have a look at these from a monthly. Let's get to this one. I've got my analysis on this one. could be something going on here, I think. You know, I don't see stock markets reaching all-time highs again. I could be wrong. You know, it could be balmy. You know, stock markets can be a bit balmy, so it could reach all-time highs before we see any kind of rejection again. But yeah, what was I reading earlier? Something about the default rates have gone up quite a lot recently. I think it's at the highest level since 2006. Or the house prices have fallen aggressively. I'll have to dig up the article again. But yeah, we're starting to see those kind of same things going on. You know, the same cycles happening. So, yeah, maybe there's going to be another. You know, the recession that's been kind of the slow recession, maybe actually on the cards in the end. What about dollar Swiss? I will take a look at dollar Swiss. Yeah, dollar Swiss has obviously moved quite aggressive due to the Swiss National Bank data. And this is I haven't done any looking at dollar Swiss for a while, to be honest. It used to be one of my favorite pairs, but it's just it's a little bit erratic. It's definitely not the most easiest of pairs to trade. It could be something, you know, you're at range lows essentially. I just don't see the benefit of trading that, to be honest. We're approaching 91.05. I think that's the best I can kind of pluck up out of there. You've got this kind of level going on through there. From a technical point, it could be a bit more bullish. You've got the Swiss National Bank holding rates. Fed have held rates, but a bit more hawkish. So, yeah, you could look for some potential longs there. I just don't think it's not the best market to trade. I just think there's probably better moves that you could look for. Definitely cable downside, euro downside potentially. If we can hold above the 105.50, maybe even the 106 in the end. Yeah. Right, any more questions, guys? I feel like we've exhausted the topics now. We've got euro dollar, obviously in a very, very interesting position. Dollar index in a very interesting position as well. I'd just like to see how these close now on the weekly. We are going into Friday, and there's some big data overnight, so there could be some significance there overnight, which I will try and maybe report on tomorrow if I get a chance. Next week, just to let you know, there's no live streams next week. Tuesday and Thursday I will not be here. I'm away, so I will be doing just daily content. So if you have any questions while I'm away, just make sure you comment on those daily ones, and I will get back to you on that. Yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Carrie, good X on correlation, please. Do you mean a good explanation of what correlation is, or? Because we have, I think I did a video. It's actually a video might be coming out on the correlation between the dollar index, the VIX, and the S&P 500. I think that's coming out. I don't know whether that is coming out tomorrow, maybe. Let me double check that. Yeah, I love that, Raw Guy. Guys, don't forget to leave a like. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Thanks, Raw Guy. Yeah, if you could leave a like on the stream, it really helps me out massively. I'll have to try and look for that later, Caro. But I do think that we've got a video coming up very, very shortly on that. So hopefully it does answer your questions, and I'll be able to point it. There is some examples in that as well. So yeah, if you want any more examples from that, obviously I can show you some more later down the line. But yeah, have a great rest of your trading week, guys. I hope you've enjoyed all the content this week. Hope you enjoyed the live streams. Sorry that they've been a bit broken up recently. October we won't be missing any, so we'll be live streaming every week in October. So yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed them. Thanks for all the comments and questions as usual. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will catch you